Yes. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
How are you, bro?
Good. The sun was merciful with us today.
Yeah, we were preparing for not such a great weather, but it looks like the sun literally 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
The sky cleared.
Yes.
So it's you're from podcast to podcast, bro. So it's
Getting used to it.
yeah, you're getting used to it. It's gonna be your next career, you might say. I'm a professional guest for podcasts. So
I guess I'm a better guest than host, so I might have to get used to that.
who knows, bro? It's something that you learn. I don't know if I'm a good host or not. It's just something you learn, you practice, because you don't get born. You don't do this by default. Maybe some people have it.
It's easier to be a guest in life because you just come, everything's ready, and you do your thing.
Yeah. But if you're a host, you have to.
You have to. But if you're the host, you have to do all that stuff no one sees,
Yeah.
and no one. All the stuff in the back which people don't see, don't appreciate, where there's no one there to say, "Wow." Yeah.
This is why somehow this is the reason I'm doing this type of conversations, because I'm curious to see the stuff in the back. I'm curious to understand the story behind people's journey.
Yeah.
And that's my invitation to you also, bro. You just share how you ended up following a spiritual path. You become a monk. I don't think you were planning to do this, or maybe you had a dream to become a monk since young age, or how did it all started? Share from the beginning, like the long story. We're doing a japa walk now.
Yeah. So the story, when does it even start?
When you were born.
I guess there's also a story, but I don't share that. So it really started with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
She had a friend at that time who was kind of not just a friend, but kind of not a guru in any sense, but just some like a mentor, or someone that was showing her spirituality, because that lady had been, she's not with us anymore, but that lady had been on the spiritual path for probably decades. And some might know her, Gloria. Yeah, she actually, when she was in her final stages, I think she was quite sick. I'm not sure exactly if she had a cancer or something.
Is that a German actress?
Yes, actually. Yeah.
Wow.
So when she was in her final stages, actually Guruji visited her and, spent some time with her. And so she for sure was a special soul. I think Swamini Dakshini was sharing how back in the day in Stephanshof she was there, and she was the only one who was allowed to meditate with in front of Maftar Babaji.
Yeah.
And she would sit in front of Maftar Babaji, the deity, but she would actually see him as like his skin being actual skin, not just looking like a deity. So for sure she was a special soul. And she was a friend of my mom's, and she was the one who introduced her to Guruji, because she would go to her place, and they would meditate together, or they would have bhajans together or something. I don't remember exactly anymore, because she would also bring me to these.
How old were you?
At that time I must have been 6, 7 or something.
Wow. Quite young.
Yeah, but even before that, my mom was already kind of on a search for spirituality. But anyways, one day my mom saw a picture of Guruji on that altar. She must have the Gloria, that lady, must have brought that picture, and must have been a new picture on the altar. And my mom was asking, who this young man at the time was, and it was Guruji. And then Guruji was doing some retreat or something in the north of Italy, and my mom went there and she brought me along. I think she saw him one time before me, but through my mom there.
So basically that's when you met Guruji the first time?
Yes.
In that retreat? How
Yes.
old were you then?
I was 8 at that time. Wow. And Guruji was younger than I am right now. So he was quite a young man.
Wow.
Still. And so through my mom, I got introduced to this path.
And do you remember that first meeting with
Yeah,
Guruji?
I can never leave my
How was
I can
it?
never leave my memory. It was very beautiful. Even I remember walking up to the place where I would meet him. It was really funny because at that time you could book these interviews with Guruji, these 15-minute interviews, and I guess eventually 15 minutes became 10 minutes and then 5 minutes. But back in the day you had these 15-minute interviews where people could just be one-on-one with Guruji and ask him all kinds of questions and whatever. And my mom booked one of those interviews and she brought me along, and Guruji was sitting in these like in these Western movies, you have these teepees.
Yeah.
Right? With the Native Americans, they have these teepees.
Yes.
And Guruji was sitting, for some reason at that retreat center or wherever it was, they had one of those and Guruji was sitting in there. So we entered that, it was a super small space. And then he was sitting there, he was wearing a dark blue silk garment, and my mom was kneeling on the floor, and then he somehow signaled me to come sit on his lap. So that was the first interaction ever. I saw him, he took me on his lap, and yeah, I'll never remember that. I'll never forget. I'll never forget that moment. And yeah, I don't know, I felt like I've always known him, and yeah, it was a very special moment.
Wow, so basically you met him when you were 8, and how old are you, bro, now?
I'm 28.
So 20 years ago you met him, and from that point on you've interacted regularly with this path, or how did that evolve?
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, Bhakti Marga was very, very different, looking at the externals, than it is now.
Yeah.
But even then, there were many events, and Guruji was giving darshans and everything, and my mom would often bring me along. But I didn't think so much about it. Like, I enjoyed being there. Whenever I was seeing Guruji or just, spending time at whatever, yagnas or events or darshans. But yeah, it was kind of a normality, and so I didn't even give it so much importance or so much, I don't know, it was like a part of life, but I guess whatever comes to you very easily, you don't really appreciate, because it's just...
It's there.
It's just there.
Don't think about it, like you said.
It's the same when we grow up in a country where you can just drink the water from the tap.
Exactly.
You don't really think about it because it's just there, and it's just very easy to have. And yeah, so I as a child, I mean, I didn't give it so much thought. I was always happy to see him and just be there in that space. Yeah, it was a childish way of seeing things, but it was always, very nice.
Yeah, you're blessed. I mean, you had this from the beginning, and basically, you've grown with the mission. Basically, I mean, you were Stephanshof, and then you you said that you had no break to it. I mean, you never had like a teenage crisis when you go away from spirituality and then you find it again. It wasn't just part of your life from that point on, yeah?
It was always part of my life, but you know, back in the day, I didn't actively commit to this path.
Yeah, because you were still growing.
Right. So it wasn't like there was so much of an active commitment from my side, like, oh, I have to do some sadhana, or what is this man teaching? Like, I have to follow this teaching or whatever. This came much later. This came much later. This only came in 2016. So I grew up very normal, even though Guruji has kind of always been there. I grew up very normal in a very, let's say, normal environment, with like normal friends and whatever. Of course, at our home, my mom would always have, you know, pictures of Guruji and you know, just in general, like some deities and saints and like that. But I didn't even give it so much importance.
It was part of your life,
yeah,
like you said, yeah.
Kind of.
It doesn't stand out.
Kind of, yeah. But even though, you know, I was growing up normal and everything, and I wasn't fully dedicating myself to this path or trying to, whatever, do some sadhana or any of these things, I guess deep down I always had a feeling that one day this will really catch up with me. And it's just a matter of time. Yeah. Somehow this feeling was always there, but yeah.
And it caught up really good because now you're a monk.
Yeah.
And did you have like a moment where you said, okay, I recognize Guruji as my Sadguru, or was it fluently, like it was also a natural transition, you might say?
Yeah.
Because at one point you make that decision in your life. You say, okay, I want to be initiated in this path. And for people, it's a different experience. Everybody has a choice to make. And for some, it's a dramatic choice. For others, it's like natural as changing your clothes, you know?
Yeah, this really came at one particular moment. So this was not a gradual process somehow, but it really hit me
Okay.
like a train in one particular moment. So at that time, it was 2016, and at that time I was studying. I actually had moved to, because I grew up in Germany, and at that time I was living in Switzerland and was studying at university, and so I started studying mechanical engineering, but I was really not excited about it at all, and it was super difficult, and so I failed the exams that took place after 1 year of university, and I thought I'd just do them again next year, because you have a second chance.
Yeah.
Like also often in life, also at university, you had a second chance to do those exams. So, but during that period of time, I just had a lot of time. I was still enrolled in university, but I was just working a little bit, and I think 2-3 days a week I was working, and the rest I just had a lot of time, let's say. And there was kind of a surge for something deep in life. I just there was something. It unfolded kind of slowly, but there was just a search for something. I didn't know exactly what I was searching for at that time, but I was trying to understand life. In a sense, I tried to understand whatever, how to make money, how the world works, how the universe works, and all these things, and
the big questions.
yeah, all the big
The
questions
big
somehow
started coming,
they started coming just because I was in that space where I had some break. You know, because often when we're so involved into something,
you don't have time.
We don't even have time for a moment because we're so stressed and we're so busy just with our daily routine,
the next deadline,
that we kind of completely lose sight of the bigger picture. So then in this time where there was more space, these things came somehow, and I think during that time I was visiting my mom in Munich for some days, and I was kind of flipping through her books because I mean she was reading a lot of these spiritual books and esoteric books also, if I may say. So she had a lot there, and most of which didn't really interest me at that time, but she had Autobiography of a Yogi, and I guess I had heard of that book already, but I don't know, I was never interested to read it. But at that moment in time, I just had an impulse to take up that book and read it, and it was definitely a fascinating read. On one side, it was so familiar to me because I grew up with.
You had the concept. It was not just
with
strange.
all these things. I knew all of that stuff was real because I had been in contact with it from early age. But let's say I really reconnected to spirituality in general. You know, I was never, let's say I never consciously distanced myself from that, right? I never turned my back to spirituality. I never turned my back to Guruji or whatever, but it was just, you know, the normality of the world just kind of catches up with you. You know, it's like a stream. If you stop, you know, if you don't actively swim against the stream of worldly life, the stream of mundane living, mundane society, just
it takes you
catches,
with you just flow with it, and
it just takes you to all kinds of places, unless you actually make a conscious effort. And so I was absorbing like a sponge this book, and I guess I started, you know, internally somehow connecting to Guruji. And in the summer that year, there was a darshan, which my mom was also organizing in Munich. And the night before, we were invited to have dinner with Guruji. And you know, in that moment, he the car pulled up, and he opened the door and got out of the car. It really hit me like a train that, you know, he was what I had been searching for. I guess not just this life, but really what I had always been searching for. And it was just such a sweet moment of reconnection. And yeah, I guess then at that time, you know, he really called me on the path to actually actively, you know, try to commit to this path.
But it's beautiful, you know. You would expect that since you were starting from young age, that you don't need this moment, you know, this explosion, this recognition, you might say.
Yeah.
But I think it's a process that is necessary, especially for our mind, to have that click in the mind. This is the way I should go from now on. Otherwise, the soul recognizes, that's what we would say, no? That the soul recognizes this is, it feels right, but the mind needs that moment of readjusting the course, you might say, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's quite interesting if I reflect, like between the moment of, I guess, but I feel like I've heard that from many people, you know, even they who might not have physically met Guruji, but who had known of Guruji. Oh, there's some Mauritian saint, whatever, some Mauritian yogi, whatever. But you know, and they've heard of him like for so many years, but they just never have that call to just book a flight and come to visit him in SPN or wherever he might be traveling.
He might come into your country and you might not go.
And then often people come and say like, oh, like I have heard about you like 20 years ago. Why do I only meet you now? You know, I was wasting quote unquote 20 years of my life just doing whatever I was doing. But you know, it's there's a saying, no, when the student is ready, the teacher shows up, or when the disciple is ready, the guru comes into the life. But because before, it's, you know, if you have this trust in divine timing, then everything really comes at the right time. And yeah, it was just not time, and I had to make the experiences I had to make. I had to be in the places I had to be, and before Guruji really said, "Hey,
you're ready.
I'm here.
You're ready. Let's go. We have a journey to do.
You know, your life is not just for that, but you know, I'm here." And yeah.
And what happened after that moment? So you had this epiphany, or you might say, okay, he's the one that I've been searching for.
Yeah.
How does it develop from here? How does your life go from there? Because you're in the university now.
Yeah, I was still in university at that time, and actually I was in the very beginning of my studies even, because I switched from mechanical engineering to computer science. So I kind of was just starting my bachelor studies, and it was a gradual process. You know, I eventually I started learning Atma Kriya. Eventually I was listening to his satsangs, reading Bhagavad Gita, reading his books, Just Love and Srimad Bhagavatam and all these. And it's just a gradual, natural process somehow, and one thing leads to another thing.
And when did you move here? Because at one point you became a resident, no?
Yeah, so that happened last March.
Last March?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So a little over 1 year.
Wow.
Time really flies. Yeah. Yeah, so the story behind that, I guess it happened three years ago or so, summer 3 years ago, something like that. Guruji was asking how my studies are going. I said, yeah, they're going fine. And then he asked me what I wanted to do after my studies, and I said, at that time I had a feeling of wanting to be a brahmachari. And then he said, oh, okay, then just come to live here in SPN and see if you like that lifestyle. See if you like that.
If it suits you.
See if that.
It's not university, but it's super nice.
So yeah, that's how it happened, basically.
And you decided to become a brahmachari, and you did that when? When was your initiation in brahmachari?
The initiation was 2022 during Navaratri.
So before becoming a resident?
Yes, actually I was still it was like the last 6 months or so of my studies. I was still studying, working, by it already at that time. It was somehow a good time.
How did do you feel it a change? How did it change you? What is different now that you're a brahmachari? Do you feel a different focus, different commitment? Because you were a devotee before.
Yeah.
And there's a step probably that happens inside. I'm quite curious because you might say, okay, you could stay like a devotee for the rest of your life. Why should I do this step, you know?
Sure. Okay, maybe to give some background to that point. So even before 2016, before Guruji called me, to really be on the path, there was always a feeling somehow of, I couldn't even put it into words, but there was always a feeling that somehow one day I'll be doing something different. Not just the mundane, completely mundane life, chasing after mundane things. Even though at that time I very much did have that mindset, of course. So even then I had a deep down somehow there was a feeling of it was like a feeling of running to the Himalayas and being like a yogi. That was always a feeling. That's kind of always been there. Of kind of running or somewhere running to Nepal. And I always had a connection to those places. And be an ascetic somehow.
So that life was appealing for you.
Yes, interestingly, I wasn't even at that time. I wasn't even connecting it with Guruji, but I just had a feeling. Okay, one day I'll just be a Buddhist monk in some monastery, just meditating all day. Even though at that time this was completely nothing on my mind, but somehow it was from a deeper space that was always there. And then I was here in 2018 for Navaratri, and it was the second night, and I think at that time, now Rishi Aditya and Swami Akash, they were initiated as brahmacharis. If I remember correctly, it was 2018, and I was watching with big eyes, how they were at the fire, and somehow how the whole initiation was taking place, and I was just watching with big eyes, and I thought, yeah, that's it, that's it. That's really what I want to do with my life. It was not so much a process of logic.
If I
looking at the pros, looking at the cons, what do I gain, what do I lose? It was not that kind of process, but it was just, when you see something and then you recognize, yes, that's it. And yeah, it was similar there. So that was of course, then between me really having that attraction, or kind of and knowing in a sense of, yes, that's what I want to do with my life, and to the actual initiation, actually it was exactly 4 years.
Wow.
Because it was not Brahmacharini Devi 2018 to Brahmacharini Devi 2022 when it happened.
4 years, and you had the feeling then, you kept on thinking about it, or it was just like, this is the way, and you were waiting for the right moment?
Yeah, I knew that
eventually you will do this.
Yes, exactly. But it was just not the I didn't give it too much, like I didn't feel like I was in a rush because I was still completely deeply in my studies, and Guruji had told me to finish.
Yeah.
And so I thought, it's first I have to finish one thing, and then I can move on to another step, another chapter in life. Yeah.
And then you moved here, and that you finished your studies basically.
It happened very quickly, actually. I finished my studies, or handed in my thesis, quit my job, and moved out of, or left Switzerland all in 1 week. So that happened very abruptly. And I took one suitcase. I packed one whole suitcase. I had one big backpack, and with that I was flying to India. I was there for Holi, and then after Holi, last year, came here.
Crazy.
Yeah, so that happened really abruptly, and I was really super happy. I was so excited to finally finish university, because I felt like I had been studying forever and just completely dive into this new chapter in life.
And guess what you're doing here? Studying and studying and studying.
Yeah, it's different.
how this came into becoming your main seva now? Yeah, no, like the knowledge team. You're part of the knowledge team.
Yes, knowledge is the main seva. I also do some IT because
of your background and your university.
My background, so I can kind of not run away from it. But actually, I do like it.
And you do amazing stuff, so.
Well, it's fun, it's really fun. That's why I liked computer science a lot, or just programming a lot, because with very little effort, or not with little effort, but with, let's say, little resources, you can do a lot. You can be very impactful. For instance, if you want to build, if you compare it to like software engineering to like mechanical engineering or like hardware kind of engineering, to create a physical product, you need a whole factory, and you need processes, and you need just a lot of equipment, a lot of resources. But 2-3 guys can come together with just a laptop each, and they can build up something which changes the whole world in a sense. So that's what I always liked about that thing. But back to your question, how did I end up in knowledge? Yeah, eventually Guruji gave me this instruction of studying the Bhakti path. At that time, I wasn't exactly sure what he even meant.
Study the Bhakti path. Okay.
But yeah, he meant to study the scriptures, and eventually, I was just in a mode of studying because I was studying at university.
Trained,
It was
it came natural. It's a continuation of what you were doing.
I guess it's easier than if all your life you're not in the study mode.
If you've been an athlete all your life and then you have to switch into study mode, it's gonna be hard. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, it was not so difficult, and always I always had this interest, also this intellectual interest, to really understand this path that I'm trying to dedicate my life to. And so I started to try to go a little bit deeper into the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and Vaishnava scripture in general, and Sanatan Dharma, and all these things. Yeah.
And what is your, let's say, if you would, let's presume that people who are watching now, they've never got in contact with scriptures, with Hinduism, they don't know what bhakti is ever. How would you summarize like a little bit of this knowledge and this bhakti path of ours to make it accessible to someone who has no clue about it?
Yeah. So what is the bhakti path? Well, bhakti means devotion to God. And we have to understand that we're not just this physical body, we're not just this mind, we're not just these thoughts which are racing through our heads, but there's something inside of us which is eternal. And that internal thing inside of us, which you can call the soul or the Atma in Sanskrit, this has no factual relationship to this world which we're so attached to, and all the things we engage with on a daily basis. But this eternal thing, this eternal identity inside of us, this has an eternal relationship to the Supreme Lord, who has many names and many forms. Now, ultimately we call him Narayana. And on the bhakti path, the goal is to realize that eternal relationship of love and service. And we do that by, worshiping him, by hearing about devotion, by hearing about the Lord, hearing about his Leela, by singing his name, by remembering him. Of course, everything under the instruction of a real guru, right? Who can not only give the teaching, but can only give that grace by which this realization is possible. Because without a guru, it's not possible to attain this goal of bhakti.
So, for people, thank you very much for this summary, because this is somehow people have a misconception, and maybe I was in that space anyway. Before meeting Guruji, I said I don't need a guru. I'm fine. Like you said, the library of books that your mother had, probably I had a lot of the books that you saw there. They were
really?
also in my library, for sure, because I had an extensive library of spiritual books.
Okay.
And I was reading all those. And the tricky part is that once you start reading, you feel smart. That doesn't mean that you actually are. So I started being an actor. What's my main instrument is talking to people. So I started talking to people from the books, the knowledge that I was reading from the books. And it was nice. It was nice. People were listening. Some of them were calling. Some of them said, you've read some books and you said some stuff. What should I do in this case? The ego was super happy. I was like, I'm quite knowledgeable. I'm quite fine with my knowledge. Look, I'm giving advice. I'm quite close to becoming a sage. Let's read some more books. And I read some more books. But the problem was, and this was really interesting, when people were asking for advice or something like that, I was giving them the recipe from the books that I read, but nothing came to fruition. They couldn't make the change, they couldn't do anything because it was not an actual experience. I was not giving them an experience, this is what I experienced. I was just telling them this is what I read.
Yeah.
In beautiful words, relatable maybe, but so at one point I had this realization that this is not going anywhere. It's literally not going anywhere because honestly I'm lacking something. And I had this really deep feeling that I'm lacking something profound. It's like you ended up on top of the hill, but you don't know how to get on top of the mountain because there's a gap there. I know there's a mountain there, there's some mist, I don't see it properly, it feels right. Yeah, I mean, on top of the hill, I can see some stuff down, but there's a mountain there and I have no idea how to get there. And for me, after I met Guruji, it's like he revealed the mountain and he also showed me the way. He said, okay, this is how it feels when you're on top of the mountain. It's nice, yeah? Okay, calm down. Humble yourself a little bit, and now let's do the journey. I'm gonna be with you. I'm gonna show you when you go into the forest where to go, but you have to do your effort. Like, trust that I'm gonna deliver you. I'm gonna get you there. And yeah, this is the amazing thing of having a guru, because people have this guru phobia, you know. There are so many documentaries you see about, even in India I have like my brother-in-law, he's Hindu, born and raised there, and he has, he says, bro, I've seen so many fake gurus. There's a culture of, you just put a orange robe and you walk around with a big beard and then you make some money out of it, you know. So he's really skeptical about this, even even though he's born in that culture, let alone coming from a Christian background, a really strong Orthodox background in my case. For my family, it's like, this guru, what's that? What's a guru? Why? It makes no sense to follow a guru. You have Jesus, and that's all you need. I mean, you have the priest tells you gurus are not good. Gurus are not good, you know, because that's the...
But then in this case, the priest is the guru, kind of, because he tells you.
Exactly.
It reminds me of, I don't know who that was, but he was saying basically, you don't need a guru, everything you can realize by yourself. And then many people came to him and started following.
Krishnamurti, I think it's about him.
I'm not sure, but anyways, he was saying, you don't need a guru, but by doing so, he became a guru.
Yes. I think this is
paradox.
Krishnamurti. I actually listened to him extensively. He's the one that brought me on the spiritual path.
Okay.
And I heard, somehow I think, I hope I'm not getting it wrong, he preached all his life that you don't need the guru. And he met Ananda Moima. And Ananda Moima told him, you know, your teachings that you don't need a guru, what's with all these people following you? You are a guru. And he went into silence for a couple of months, even years, because he had to reconsider, after meeting that amazing saint, all what he was preaching, you know. So I think this is the story. But yeah, why do you need a guru? For you, what does it mean for you to have a guru now in your life?
It has.
What does it mean? What does it mean for you? Let's catch a... Yes. So we catch our breath. Where were we? We were talking about the guru, the importance of the guru, and what does it mean for you to have a guru?
What does it mean? Honestly, at this point, I don't know what life would be like without a guru or without our Gurudev, because, you know, before that, you live your life according how you think it makes sense, no? How we think it makes sense, how society thinks it makes sense. And we chase after some kind of happiness, but who knows what is that happiness? No, everyone's looking for that happiness, but for every person it means something else according to their understanding of life, according to their maturity, according to their whatever they've been taught and whatever. But when the guru enters your life, he really shakes your view of reality, of what you thought would be a successful life. Because in those years before 2016, let's say, when he really came into my life again, I was chasing, I guess, whatever the world nowadays is chasing, you know. I was trying to one day make a lot of money, be really successful, you know, just chasing external things. Yeah, but then the Guru comes and he said, he not only teaches you, but somehow he makes your life in such a way that you realize that all these things don't truly bring this kind of happiness which you seek in them, no? And then he gives you a taste of real happiness, no? And so he's the one, like, the way I feel is that, like, you know, even the everyday experience I have, you know, whatever's coming in my life is coming ultimately from him, right? If we have this deep trust in the Guru, then whatever comes in our life is not separate from him, but it's him holding your hand and, you know, showing you whatever you need to learn, giving you all those experiences to make you grow, such that ultimately he can give you this ultimate grace, right? Through which you realize your eternal relationship with God. And that is the true happiness. That is truly what every soul is looking for, is longing for. But we don't know that, so we look for that happiness in everything else, everywhere else where it's not really there.
Because it goes away.
Yes, because everything
that you look, you see at one point, it will disappear.
Yes. I mean, it all starts with this physical body, no? Even you can protect all your wealth and your health and your friends and everything externally, which is so dear. But everyone knows this physical body will one day perish. Of course, now science is trying to come up with different ways to be
to preserve the body as much
invincible and whatever, but it just shows that people don't really know what is true happiness, because that deepest part inside of us, that is eternal. But it doesn't mean that this body is eternal.
It's sometimes it's hard to have a conversation with people that are focused on the material side of life, because for them it sounds like ungroundedness, like you do not understand, because one of the arguments is, okay, but you need to eat, no? You need to pay your bills, you need to do this, you need to do that.
Yeah, sure.
Should we all give up everything and go into the woods and go into the Himalayas and become monks? Because it's not sustainable for society. It's not what's going to happen if it's going to be a society full of monks. If everybody's going to become a brahmachari, there's no society. I mean, no more kids, no more material possession. How do we sustain ourselves?
Well, the first thing is that if there were no humans on this planet, the planet would be very healthy. There would be no pollution in the air and all these things.
Yeah.
But
we saw during COVID, it was really good.
Yes.
Polluted
COVID,
cities could see the sky.
It was amazing to be in the very beginning of COVID in Vrindavan, because it was the first time where you don't hear all these rickshaws just honking. You could really, it was such a peaceful environment.
And you could also have a clear, breathable air.
Yes. The rivers were getting cleaner and everything, Ganga and everything. But back to your question, the beauty in bhakti is that you can externally basically keep doing what you're doing, you know, whatever duty in life one has, one can just keep doing that. But the thing which really changes is the internal perspective. We do the same things, we act in similar ways. You know, even if you look at the saint looks just like a normal man or woman, doing everything everyone else does, except maybe external, you can say, okay, they're praying or whatever. But the internal reality is the only thing that is really different. And this, on the bhakti path, this is really the thing which well, determines our our reality, that internal reality. Because external things are very easy to change, but the real, but on the path of bhakti, it's not about changing anything external. It doesn't matter, all the external stuff. It's just about our internal reality, changing our mind, transforming our mind, and turning it from mundane consciousness to divine consciousness.
And did you ever had, let's say, an actual experience of this reality? And because you hear a lot of people, for example, in the spiritual market, like we have from violet flame to aligning your chakras with the planetary system. I don't know. There's so many things that you could do, man. I mean, it's endless opportunity. That's why I think it's hard sometimes to talk about spirituality with people, because you just go online and you have all these people doing all this stuff, and I'm not questioning that they don't work or they do. I don't have that experience yet. Maybe I have to try all them and then say, oh, this worked or not for me, because I also tried a lot of stuff.
Okay.
What does Bhakti Marga does different? What do we have different? What do you feel we have different from the other practitioners out there, and why do we consider this is the way? Because people are funneling and people say, okay, of all the things that I tried, for me this was the experience. Of all the stuff that I tried, when I got initiated in Atma Kriya Yoga, it blew me away, literally. I mean, it's something so powerful happened inside, and I said, oh, so this is how an initiation should feel like, basically, because I got initiated in different techniques, blah, blah, blah. But when I was initiated, I received the Shakti path, which is the blessing of the technique. I literally felt a physical transformation inside. Wow. I literally felt it, and I was with my wife, and we both started crying like crazy, and I was like, what is this, man? What is this? It has nothing to do with me. It comes from somewhere deep inside. And when I started practicing, I was like, okay, this is next level. Because I really saw the change inside, but also outside. Things were starting to change around me, and I was like, oh, okay. It's like people were feeling something different around in our life. So what would you say about this? Why do you think Bhakti Marga has this this stance in which, okay, we accept everybody, but this is our way. Why this? No.
Yeah, there are many paths and many traditions, and there's also truth in them. There's also partial truth in them. But on the path of bhakti, there's just a sweetness which you don't find in any other path. Guruji says, in path of bhakti, there's just a sweetness, which everyone is looking for that. In Sanskrit, you can call it rasa.
Rasa.
Everyone is looking for that rasa, that sweetness, and we look for it everywhere. But this sweetness really comes when we engage in a relationship with God in a personal way. And there's also many people on the path of bhakti, but the experience comes through the grace of a real guru. And that's the thing, because you can even practice all the techniques, you can practice everything, you can chant all the mantras, do whatever rituals, but this bhakti, this love, this really only awakens by the grace of a guru who has that capacity of bestowing that grace. It doesn't come through anything else. It doesn't come through one's own effort. No, through one's own effort, one can purify oneself. but it's like we're cleaning the vessel to receive that love. But by let's say you have a metal bowl and it's completely filthy. There's so much dirt in there and everything. Even if you remove all the dirt, all the stains is still there. There's dust and everything, and so you have to clean it and clean it and clean it and clean it and clean it. And then once it's clean, then someone can come and give you some nice mango juice or whatever flavor you like.
I love mango. Good.
Whatever flavor you like. But that is the thing, you know, that juice, that it doesn't come by our own effort, but our own effort is to clean that vessel.
And to prepare yourself to receive
prepare,
the
yes.
nectar, basically.
Yes.
I felt it with when I first met Guruji. I felt this. I had this deep experience of receiving something so precious that I was not able to contain it. Basically, I had that feeling that he could offer more than I could handle. And this is what I love about Guruji and how he is teaching us, how he's guiding us, is the fact that he's giving us experience first.
Yeah.
And after having that experience, then he always redirects you and, okay, now go and study. Maybe you make sense of what you felt, you know, because sometimes the experiences are so crazy, and we have on our Bhakti Marga YouTube channel experiences with the master, and you have some crazy experience there, bro. Like healings and near-death experiences and like crazy coincidences, but some are unbelievable. And if it would have been one or two, you would say, things like this happen. But there are tens and hundreds of experiences like this. And basically all the people that come here, one way or another, had an experience.
Of some kind.
Of some sort. Something happened inside, an experience. It's not like I read Bhagavad Gita and I felt so inspired that I wanted to go to Germany in the middle of the forest to meet my guru, you know. I don't know if there are many cases, like maybe there are, but I don't think people go through the scriptures and they say, I think I'm going to purify myself to receive the grace of the guru. I think the guru just picks you up from where you are. It's like, these are some, and I'm sure you, during all these years, you heard so many stories and experiences like this. What is the top experience for you? Maybe yours or other experience, those that you can share, those that can be believable. Share one experience or two.
I mean, the experiences, I love hearing the experiences also, which are very, very miraculous.
Yeah, some of them are incredible.
Right? Where, whatever, it's vision of deities or like crazy healings or manifestations or whatever. All that stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'll give a very cheesy answer, but it's a very honest answer. The most amazing thing is how the guru has transformed my inner space. Because everything external, this clothes I can wear, I can put off, I can put on, I can wear.
It's like
anything.
Costume, yeah.
You know, I can have long hair, short hair, I can look rich, I can look poor, everything external changes. But who can change your inner space? And he's shown me so many times that how to what extent he's in control of my inner reality, which I myself am not even in control of. You know, and when someone shows you that they have such control over you, or such
knowledge of your inner
world,
yeah.
where they know you deeper than you know yourself, that's amazing. And just to get back on that word of control, because I want to clarify, you know, in our normal
society
mundane consciousness point of view, No one wants to be controlled.
We want to be free.
And everyone wants to control others.
Yeah.
Whether it's they want to be top of the state, top of the company, or even at family dinner. They want to decide what is for dinner. Why do you decide what is for dinner? I want to decide what is for dinner. Because what I decide is much better than what you decide.
Of course, because I know better.
Because I know better, I'm smarter, because I'm the man or I'm the woman or any kind of reason. So everyone wants to be controlled and no one wants to be controlled. But on the path of bhakti, it's completely different because even God himself becomes controlled through love. And he controls us through his love. But it's completely different from that power game which people play in, materially, externally. Yeah. But this really is for me the greatest miracle, how someone can transform your inner space from, just wanting external things and just wanting, a completely mundane kind of happiness to not caring about these things and just wanting something much, much deeper, that how someone can change, how can cause that change in your own life. For me, this is the biggest miracle, that transformation through which all of us go in our own way.
Well, one of the things that one might say is, yeah, but it's easy for you, bro. I mean, you're here in the ashram, you're getting, you don't have no worries, you don't have to provide for yourself, you have your meals, all you do is pray. Of course you can talk like this, it's easy, but I have to hustle every day. I have a crazy boss, I have 7 kids, I have loans in the bank, I have no chance to do what you're saying. How can I focus on God when I cannot pay my rent? So what would you say to someone that has this type of mentality in which he sees no time, no place fitting to create that relationship with God, because God doesn't care about me. If he would care about me, he would provide, he would make my life easy, because you as a monk, you have an easy life here, no?
Well, if God really cares about you, he will put you in such a difficult place that all you can do is pray.
Good point. That's the point. Very good point.
But in more practical terms, we can, it's always, even in the busiest situations, we can always take a moment and think of God.
Yeah.
Or even as Guruji says, even if you're so busy all day, then before sleep, think of God and just with the feeling that this day was for you. I don't know what is good, I don't know what is bad. I act sometimes wisely, sometimes I act stupidly. I don't know. I'm your creation. You're my father, you're my mother, or however you relate to God, and I offer this day to you. And through that, no matter in which kind of external circumstances you are, the God is not closer to a monk than a family man who provides for his children by working day and night. He's not closer to a saint, he's not closer to the biggest criminal, but it's just how much we want to make him part of our life. Because we're all his children, but it's just about how much we make him a priority and how much we want to connect with him. And also like that, he can also change the external circumstances with a flick of a finger.
Why doesn't he do it? Why doesn't he do it? Change it. I want to win the lottery.
But something, it's true. It might be very easy to say from the perspective I'm in right now. But I've always seen throughout my life, the more I made him a priority, the easier everything became externally also. Yeah. This I could clearly see how he's taking you to, but it's a thing of how much we're letting Because this is a funny thing we do, sometimes we try to make him a priority, but while hanging, or we say, okay, I want to come to you, but while hanging on to all those things which will stop us from coming to him.
Have some conditions before coming to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we, yes, suppose it's like a man who is drowning, and he has so many iron chains tied to his feet.
Golden chains.
And then someone comes and he's screaming, oh, help me, I'm drowning. And someone comes and just says, okay, you know how to swim. You can swim. The shore is very, very close. But just let go of all the stuff which is dragging you down. And then they will say, oh no, but I can't.
These are mine.
I can't, But we do the same often with God, that we hold on so tightly to all those things which will stop us from really attaining him. And these things, just to clarify, they're not external things.
Yeah.
They're not.
It has nothing to do with material possessions.
They're not external things, but they're internal things, right? Ultimately, it's our own ego, our pride, all our negative qualities. Fears. All these things, this is what we have to let go of. Yeah.
Super beautiful. I feel this is a good time to make a closure. I'm really grateful that we had time to talk, because in the ashram the schedule is super crazy. I mean, the amount of work people do, I honestly think it's, at one level, it's much harder to live in an ashram than living outside, because you have so many duties, and you basically surrendered your life to service. You said, okay, what I want to do is serve, and that's all. And in that service means that your life in one way doesn't belong to you. So you just, every day you just serve. And the amount of seva people do here is crazy. I mean, because back home, you might say, you finished your week, and for the weekend you have your leisure time, or you go back from work. I finish my job, now I relax, I watch movies, I do whatsoever. I was talking with Jagat Pati, who's another monk here. I hope we're gonna have him on the podcast. And he said, bro, I wanted to watch a movie for the last 10 days. I really wanted to see that movie, and I could literally see just 5 minutes every night because I was so dead tired. I was sleeping every day. Then I really wanted to see that movie. And he said, and then I realized that was just hanging to my time. I want some time for myself. And then he saw that and he said, I let go of that. And I said, it's not about my time, because it's not about me anymore. And this is the hardest part, basically. And this is what you guys are, this is the path of a monk somehow. This is how I see it. You're constant working on renouncing to everything that might be about you at the end of the day. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, this bhakti path is very much, well, there's really no difference between bhakti and seva. Seva is bhakti.
Seva being
seva.
Selfless service, is the translation.
Yes, ultimately, because ultimately that's the highest potential of our soul. It is an eternal servant of God, right? And the more we align to that reality, the happier we become, right? It's like the more we let that our true light shine, which is God's light shining through us, because we coming closer and closer to our own divine nature. And it's true, it's a process of in which we have to let go of anything which is based on the I. I want this, I want that. Of course, it's a process. It doesn't just happen overnight. But it's a very beautiful process, a very joyful process. Can also be painful. It depends on how much we hold on to all these things which are just holding us back.
Yeah. The wind is blowing us away. Yeah, I feel inspired since moving here.
When did you move here, by the way?
Like last year in September, August, September.
Yeah.
So it's quite different coming here for events, because I met Guruji in 2019, became devotee in 2020, and since then regularly for events we were coming. And you come here, you have this intense experience for 10 days, for 3 days, doesn't matter, then you go back and do the hustle and the struggle every day, remembering your experience. And you have, there's an image in your mind that you created an image, an expectation towards this place, and then you come and move here, and you have this experience every day basically, and you have, sometimes you have the impression, oh, it happens only during events, the energy grows and then it drops, but basically this intensity is every day present here, because everybody in this place is dedicated and focused on the same goal. Highly unlikely people to have met on the outside and to spend time together. Here,
Exactly.
they are put together and they go through this intense process while they are marching towards the same goal. And this is, it's an inspiration. It's an inspiration to see this happening, even if there are no events. Things are still going on, because you feel it. Once you go away from this region, I went like 2 days ago. No, last weekend we went to Bingen to see the relics of Hildegard von Bingen. And after that, the monastery is beautiful.
My mom really likes her.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And the energy in that church, I couldn't leave. We stayed, like, it was empty. Nobody was there. Super beautiful. And then we went into the old city center, and it was a sunny day, full of people, because it's a winery there, full of people drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes. And we ate an ice cream, and man, I felt so bad after. When I reached home, my head was hurting, and it was like I lost my training, because some people came right next to us and started smoking and blowing smoke, and I was a chain smoker, bro. So I would eat the cigarettes, and now I was like, man, I really don't feel good around this person. I wish you would leave, bro. I'm eating an ice cream with my daughter. Just leave. And you feel how it's a different vibe here, different energy. It holds you, it sustains you for what you're doing. And when you go too much outside, then you start to become aware, okay, I should have done my Kriya in the morning before coming here, I need to do a little bit of japa. I need to do something to get me, reconnect me to that,
Exactly, because here at the ashram, we're all like little pieces of coal burning in the Sadhguru's fire. He's giving the heat. Nice. He is the heat. He is that fire, and he's making us all burn. Burning all our impurities, burning all our attachments, burning all that which is not truly us as divine beings. But the moment you jump out, no more heat.
You can.
The heat is.
You're gonna
fading away.
You're struggling to keep that spark.
Yes, and then you might jump into the water, and then.
Yeah.
So I mean, yes, the keeping associations of devotees is something so precious. Is something which you don't, which is unique, and which really you don't find anywhere else. other than with people who you can really share your heart with and who can really inspire you, right? It doesn't just happen in an ashram, but wherever you are.
In the countries,
one can create a sangha like that, you know, by just spreading that light, bringing it to people around and like that. Because the thing is, when we transform ourselves truly, then we become an inspiration for others, and then we can share the Guru's light, God's light, and then inspire each other and grow in this love together.
I love this this example of the coals, that when they snuggle together they have that strength of warming up everything around them, but if you get extracted from there, then you might have difficulties in keeping the flame. Yeah, this is really good. This is really good, nice example. So in this note, thank you, bro, for taking your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, with great pleasure. I enjoy a lot to have these conversations because I learn a lot from individual stories. So hope to do this again.
Yeah, why not?
Hope you enjoyed also. Stay grounded, walk straight towards God, and see what happens next. We're gonna just enjoy a little bit this amazing sun, because it doesn't happen too often.
No, enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, live in the moment. This
Exactly.
is a great teaching of German weather. Enjoy the sun every second. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.